We are back, baby, and this is my first solo review in a little bit of time. But I had to do a solo review for this film. I have to, and I'm going to be doing a solo review for each Indiana Jones movie leading up to the release of Dial of Destiny, which I am going to see in 7 days. Now, because I'm going to see it in 7 days and I'm just now starting on this series, I apologize if you get a review for Dial of Destiny before some of the other four, but I'm going to be reviewing all four of these movies. Okay, so let's talk about Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Initially known as Raiders of the Lost Ark, later changed to Indiana Jones and the because of the sequel. This movie came out in 1981, and it absolutely changed the world. This is possibly my favorite movie of all time. I don't know if I specifically have a number one favorite, but it is by far definitely in the top five. This, I've always credited as the movie that made me fall in love with filmmaking. When I first saw, I can't exactly remember the first time I saw this movie, but when I first saw it when I was a kid, it changed my world. I have been obsessed with this franchise ever since I was a little kid, especially when I was a kid. I loved Indiana Jones. I wanted to be just like him. It was the point where it would annoy the people around me. That's how much I loved Indiana Jones. But I didn't care because this movie series is awesome. It's meant so much to me my entire life. I have so much cool Indiana Jones stuff that I could show off that I've collected over the years that it's impossible for me to show it all. I started writing a book series when I was a kid that was heavily inspired by Indiana Jones. I never finished it, but I met John Rhys Davies before. I got his autograph right here on this. He was the nicest dude in the world. I got the chance to tell him how much this movie has meant to me. He gave me some good filmmaking advice on how I could get started if I really wanted to be a filmmaker for a career. Nicest dude ever. I remember one time when I was a kid, I mailed Harrison Ford some fan mail with a picture of myself, hoping he'd write me back. He did not. But regardless, Indiana Jones has helped shape me into the person I am today. So let's talk about the greatest action adventure movie ever made, Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. So Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark came out in 1981. It stars Harrison Ford, Karen Allen, John Rhys Davies, Paul Freeman, and Denholm Elliott. And it was directed by Steven Spielberg. This movie tells the story of an archaeologist who is on a quest to get the Ark of the Covenant before the Nazis can get it and use it for evil. This movie takes place several years before World War II started, but when the Nazis were starting to gain traction. And we are introduced to our hero, Indiana Jones, in one of the best character intros of all time. He's walking through this jungle. He's got this team of dudes. You can't see his face. You never get any shots of his face, but you know he's a baddie. When somebody runs away screaming because some bats flew in his face, Indiana Jones just doesn't care. This guy tries to shoot him in the back, and he turns around, cracks out that whip, smacks him in the wrist with it, makes him drop the whip. The guy runs away, and then he steps into the light, and we see the face of our hero, Indiana Jones. And it is one of the best character intros ever. Like, automatically, like, okay, this guy's a baddie. He is really awesome. And then they go into the temple. He knows exactly what he's doing. There's all these booby traps, but he expects all of it. He manages to barely escape with his life, but once he gets out, he has succeeded. He's got this golden idol that he went in there to retrieve, and he is instantly brought down to earth by his rival archaeologist, played by Denholm Elliott, Renee Belloc. And as soon as that happens, he is instantly humanized. He runs away from these natives that Belloc recruited. He jumps into the plane. There's a snake in there. We realize he has a fear of snakes, and we realize he's just a dude. He's just an everyman. I mean, he's awesome, but he's really not this total baddie that they set him up to be. So they set him up like he's one guy, but then they show you, no. He's really an everyman, you know? He's not John Wick. He's good in a fight. He can use a gun and a whip, but at the end of the day, he's kind of just a normal dude. And that's one of the things that makes him so likable, is that he's a hero who can get hurt and can make mistakes, and we will talk about that. This is one of the most highly rewatchable movies of all time. The pacing of this movie is so perfect. The movie just keeps going. It just keeps moving right along. This is how you pace a movie. This movie is like 2 hours long, but it feels like 15 minutes. It just moves right along so fast. But every single moment is just iconic. And the action is so memorable. It's so memorable. Every action scene in this movie stands on its own as something great. And the way that Spielberg and Lucas set these up, the way that it's written, it's just perfect because the action sequences, they're not just gunfights. They're not just fistfights. They build upon themselves. When he's at the cool German plane and the big buff mechanic comes out to try and fight him, and the scene just builds. So first he fights a normal Nazi trying to get up to steal the plane, and then the boxer comes out trying to fight him, and he's kicking his butt, but now the plane is moving. Okay. And now Marion is trapped inside the plane. Oh, more Nazis are coming. So now she's shooting them and she's blowing stuff up. But the propellers are still near their heads and he's still getting his butt kicked. Now he's on top of the plane. Oh, now he got knocked off the plane. Oh, great. Now there's gasoline coming at them. Oh, great. Now it's on fire and it's about to blow up the plane. Or you look at the truck chase sequence. He rides a horse up to the trucks. He gets in. He fights a few Nazis. But there's Nazis in the back of the truck. So now they're crawling on the sides trying to get up to him. Great. Now he's knocked them all down. But oh, wait. Here comes some more Nazis. Oh, wait. Here comes some more Nazis. Oh, wait. There's actually one more in the back of the truck. Here he comes. Oh, great. Now he's thrown him out in front of the truck. Now he has to crawl underneath the truck, go behind it, hang on to his whip as he's getting dragged by the truck, crawl up the whip, climb up the truck, get back to the front, beat up that Nazi, throw him out the windshield, run him over, and run Renee Belloc off the road. Every action sequence builds and builds and builds and builds, and every single one of them is practical. They're done for real, and they stand as some of the greatest of all time. The shootout in the tavern is one of my favorite fights, besides maybe the one from Heat. It is just perfect. It's bloody. There's no music. There's no music because it doesn't need music. It's just Indiana Jones fighting all these guys. Oh, but now he's fist fighting one of them. Oh, wait, now his hand is on fire. You see what I mean? There's just always more, and it builds and builds and builds. That is how you construct a proper action sequence. And it's never been done better ever since this movie came out. I'm going to need water after this. Now, the stunts are fantastic. The stunt work in this movie is really impressive. I wish we got more stunt work like this. Thank God we got the John Wick series because we need great stunt work. The truck chase sequence when the Nazis are getting run over and they're falling off the trucks, it looks painful and it's really, really, really impressive. The characters are fantastic. These are some of the best written characters of all time. Indiana Jones, like I said, he's just an everyman, so you can relate to him, but every man wants to be him. John Rhys Davies is perfect in this movie. He's likable, he's lovable, he's just a great companion. Marion Ravenwood is my favorite female character in a movie ever, and her and Indiana Jones have my favorite movie romance ever. Marion isn't just like this whiny damsel in distress like we get in the second movie, but even though I do like Willie Scott, this is a bad A character. She's just like Princess Leia. She can take care of herself. Sure, she might need rescuing a little bit every now and then, but she's just an awesome character. She's an awesome, strong woman. And the casting is perfect. Everybody has great chemistry with each other. I mean, Harrison Ford almost wasn't Indiana Jones. Can you imagine if Harrison Ford wasn't Indiana Jones? That would suck. Let's see. The music is perfect. John Williams' score for this movie is just perfect. It is just, he has constantly over and over again proved why he is one of the greatest composers to ever walk this earth. I mean, he has put himself right up there with freaking Beethoven. Not kidding. Like, the music in this movie and how it builds on itself in these action sequences. It is just absolutely perfect. It's iconic. I love to listen to it. It's amazing. And when I talk about everything with this movie is iconic, even the mountain fade in, when we see the Paramount logo and then it fades in and we see a mountain, they didn't really have to do that, but it's just a cool addition to the film. The suspense in this movie is great, especially the suspense that they set up around the Ark of the Covenant. The people around Indiana Jones are constantly warning him, maybe you shouldn't go after the Ark of the Covenant, you know? Maybe this is a bad idea. Like, everybody's telling him this when the guy is reading the headpiece to the Staff of Ra, and he's like, this is a warning not to disturb the Ark of the Covenant. And he's just like, okay, but what about the map room? What does it tell me about the map room? He doesn't care. He doesn't believe in any of this stuff. His passion is to find these rare historical antiquities. And he's going to find this Ark of the Covenant, whether anyone likes it or not. He even finds Marion after he thinks she's been blown up. He finds her, but he realizes for the good of the mission, he has to leave her there. And the suspense when they're opening up the Well of the Souls and you get the lightning around you and the music's real eerie and they pull it open and they look down and there's snakes everywhere and it's all practical. I mean, a lot of them weren't actually snakes. They were like a type of lizard that apparently doesn't have legs, you know, so that they wouldn't bite the actors. But still, they're all real. And you look down there and the lightning flashes and you get the statue and it scares Sala. Asp, very dangerous. You go first. It's perfect. Let's see. The special effects are amazing. Like I said, it's all practical. When they open up the Ark of the Covenant at the end of the movie and Belloc explodes, Tote's face melts, and Colonel Dietrich's head implodes in on itself, it like actually shrinks. It's practical effects. They did that for real. And it's so interesting to watch like behind the scenes documentaries about how they did all this. It's all real. This movie set the standard for special effects, as well as Star Wars, which came before it. There are people who have become special effects artists just because of this movie. It's perfect and it holds up great. Let's see. This movie also has good horror elements to it. One of the things I've always liked about Indiana Jones, and one of the things I feel is kind of lacking from Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, is the horror elements. You get all this scary stuff, like I said, like Tote's face melts off his skull, and it's nasty, and it's bloody, and it's disgusting, and it's awesome. The second movie has the heart getting ripped out. The third one has the guy rapidly aging to the point where he turns to dust. It's all amazing. It's creepy, and it's horrific, and it's gory, and it's perfect. The costuming is really, really good too. One of the things that this movie did perfectly is that the actors are dirty. One of the things that's lacking in Kingdom of Crystal Skull is that the actors don't get dirty. By the end of, close to the end of the adventure, when Indiana Jones and Marion are together in Captain Katanga's room on the ship, they've got the Ark of the Covenant, they've escaped the Nazis, and she's taking care of him. You can see on their clothes, like, they're filthy. When they're running away from the plane as it's exploding, if you look at their clothes, they are really dirty. They're covered in head to toe with dirt and sand and blood and everything that's come before it. Everything that's come before this, everything that they've been through in this movie, you can see it on their face and their clothes. That is something that I feel is a little lacking in movies today. You look at like these Disney live action reboots like the Aladdin movie and everybody's just so clean and shiny all the time. Like, no, they're out in the desert. They're going to get dirty. It handles exposition really well. This movie doesn't drag even for a second. When the exposition scene, when the old man is explaining the headpiece to the staff of Ra to Indy, and the whole time he's holding this date that's been poisoned, and he's about to bite it several times, but he doesn't. And then Sala catches it when he throws it up in the air, and he goes, "Bad dates." There's something going on while there's exposition. And I can't remember which Star Trek movie it was, but in one of the Star Trek movies with Chris Pine, his hands are blowing up and they're getting bigger and bigger while somebody's trying to explain something important to the plot to him, and he's running around freaking out while the plot is being explained to us and to him. There's something funny and interesting that's happening at the same time as the exposition. It's not people just sitting around boringly talking. That way it doesn't ruin the pacing of the film. It's also incredibly interesting. I mean, this movie, this franchise when I was a kid got me really into history. I used to watch this and Pawn Stars all the time on the History Channel. History to me just became incredibly interesting when I got into Raiders of the Lost Ark and Temple of Doom and Last Crusade and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which I actually really liked when I was a kid. Don't like it as much when I was an adult, but, you know, it's super interesting. Like, if you like read into like the biblical aspect of the Ark of the Covenant, it is really, really interesting. I mean, how like I was talking earlier, how about everybody around Indy is saying going after the Ark of the Covenant may not be a good idea. Denholm Elliott even says an army that carries the Ark of the Covenant before it is invincible, which is why Hitler wants it. It's just so interesting. it's so interesting to really actually read into it. Let's see, the sound effects in this movie are perfect. Indiana Jones cracking the whip, the gunshot sound effects, it all sounds crisp and pristine. The cinematography is beautiful. It frames everything perfectly. Everything is always in frame. The actors' faces are always in frame. Everything looks fantastic. And Indy is easy, very easy to root for. He's an everyman, like I said, he's an everyman. He's a good guy, but he's also got his flaws. Like he's letting his ambition get the better of him. This is why he doesn't blow up the Nazis when they've got the Ark of the Covenant, because Belloc says to him, like, you want to see what's in this just as much as I do, and you know it. So you're not going to blow us up. And he's right. He doesn't blow him up because he wants to see it get open too. He wants to know what's in it just as bad as him, because this is his addiction. And when he steals that horse to go after the Ark of the Covenant, and John Williams' incredible score is blaring up, and all the Cairo diggers are yelling at him because he stole the horse, and he's riding it down the path to go after the Nazis to kick some Nazi butt, you get so hyped and your adrenaline gets pumping. This is filmmaking at its absolute best. It's filmmaking that's so good, it makes me jealous, because I know, even if I somehow ever became a filmmaker, I will never, ever, in my wildest dreams, make a movie as good as Raiders of the Lost Ark. This is the greatest action-adventure movie of all time. If I had a higher grade than a 100, this movie would get it, but I don't. So I'm going to give Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark a 100. I was so excited to talk about this movie, man, which is probably part of the reason why I talk super fast. I can't say enough good things about this movie. There's like virtually nothing wrong with it. It is perfect. It set up an iconic franchise, the greatest action adventure franchise of all time. And Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark is just one of those movies. It's lightning in a bottle. We're never going to get one as good as it again. It's just, this is what filmmaking is all about. And every time I watch this movie, I am reminded of why I fell in love with this franchise when I was a kid, why this meant so much to me when I was a kid. I have so much nostalgia for this franchise. And even when I'm an old man who's possibly 93 years old, if I'm lucky, laying on my deathbed, watching Raiders of the Lost Ark, it will get me just as excited as it did when I was a kid. This movie will never get old. I'm never tired of it. I've seen it 500 times. It is the perfect action movie. I'll be back soon with Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, as well as reviews for new releases that I've seen. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to Potty Player Entertainment for more. Hit the like button. Anything that you maybe want to see me review, leave it in the comments section below. And I wish you all fortune and glory. Much love.